This is Movies, a podcast by the Active Cinema. With me today, of course, it is Hans. It's a very hot day in Costa Rica as we're recording this, April 2nd. And your nickname was the April Fool when you were in high school. Was it
Oh
because you
yeah.
shit your pants on spring photography day?
Yeah. Yeah. Spring photography day, not a thing here. April Fool's thing, not a thing here. So that's like an American thing. I
Uh
didn't
huh.
I didn't go to school in the States. Yeah. So no. I didn't shit my pants. I had one classmate that he shit his pants 3 times in 1 year. Um, and I think I was the only one that would talk to him.
Wow.
I was like his only friend.
Was it a
But
Billy Madison situation where he's a 48-year-old construction worker who showed up to school drunk every day?
no, he was just very shy. So instead of asking to go to the bathroom, he would rather just or piss himself. I remember he also pissed himself, and I would just be like, just fucking go to the bathroom. Like, why are you so afraid of asking? No one's gonna say no, shit, you know? And I remember very vividly that he like it just started smelling like shit. And here, it's not like in the States where you just wear regular clothes. Here you have a uniform that you have to wear. So from like first to sixth grade, you have to wear button up white like business shirt, not as thick as a business shirt, but like a white button up shirt and gray pants,
Mm-hmm.
long pants the whole day. So when this boy was shitting himself, we couldn't hear it, but he just started leaning forward weirdly, right, in a way that no one sits like
Did he start
this.
rocking back and forth so it would all come out
No,
quickly?
well, no, he wouldn't rock because if he would rock, he would just smudge
He's
it
smushing it. He's
inside his
pancaking
asshole.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, he would just forward, so I guess the turd wouldn't do that. But then flies would come into the classroom and start like getting on his pants as he's leaning forward.
Oh my
And
God.
then there was just like I mean, this kid would have really like big turds because there was just a cloud of stink around him, but no one would say anything. And then the teacher was kind of like, do you need to go to the bathroom? He was like, no. And everyone was like, "You go fucking
You're
I mean,
covered in
not
flies.
anymore,
What
I
the
guess.
fuck are
You
you talking
shit
about?
yourself."
No.
Yeah.
It sounds like the
Yeah.
Amityville Horror, except he shit himself.
Yep. And another time, you just hear like a stream of water hitting the floor. And then everyone just like everyone moved their desk away from him and he was right in the middle, just drooling out of his penis. Just,
Wow.
no pressure. Just like it was just falling down, like dripping out of his dick. It was third grade. So I was what, 8 years old, 9 years oldish. Yeah, I
I
remember I
hope
gave him my
so.
guinea pig. I gave him my guinea pig because he was moving to like the country and he lost it within like a day.
What? Yeah, this
Uh,
kid's fucking retarded. Why would you give him any? You should give
yeah.
him what was it? Muzzy. You remember Muzzy?
No.
Well, you lived in England. I think there was plenty of people you'd call Muzzy there, but that's not what I'm
Yeah.
thinking about. I'm thinking of the children's
And did.
educational software.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I thought you
You
were gonna
should
say like
Google. Maybe that's
plankton.
what this episode's on tonight is Muzzy, the children's educational video series from 1979. You should look this up.
Okay. Mussy, how do you spell
I think it's
you
exactly
spell
what you
it?
think, but be careful. I know there's new regulations in certain countries now about hate crime. So you spell it the wrong way, guess what? You're going to jail. You're going to prison.
Educational program.
Well, as Hans looks this
Muzzy,
up,
yeah.
have you seen any new movies lately? Because we're going into this episode without a theme. See, we've had 4 or 5 guests lined up, and then for any number of reasons, where are they? I don't know. They must have all died, must have all passed away. It's a very cursed year, 2024.
Let me see. Uh, where are we when rated newest? Nope. Oh yeah, I saw a movie called Modern Girls from the 80s. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's
Is this
directed
another
by
Dan
Jared
Aykroyd film?
Kramer.
No, I haven't heard
No,
of
this
this.
one had Virginia Madsen, uh, Chris Nash. That's the two biggest names. But it's very 80s comedy, kind of after hours-y, which is why I was interested in seeing it. But it's one of those obscure movies from the 80s and 70s that I've started looking for on YTS, where It's just movies with some recognizable actors that I've never heard of before, and this was one of them. And I was just curious about it. It wasn't great, but let me I found the trailer here.
By all means, let's take a look at this.
How is it? Oh, sorry, it's just that they changed the layout of this thing, so now I have to click over here. Okay.
Okay, we are taking a look at
Uh,
Modern Girls from 1986. This is the trailer, and Hans, you picked this movie out. You spelled you spelled Muzzy so fucking wrong, I think.
I
That's
know.
like you spelled Mussolini.
Between night and day,
Why don't you stop looking so hard?
between now and tomorrow, Margot, Cece, Kelly, and Cliff will find what they are looking for.
Who are you people? I will if you will.
And something they never imagined in each other.
Ready?
Modern Girls, featuring the music of Depeche Mode, Anthony and the Camp, Floyd Joy, Ice House, and Tony Bennett.
I love that this was a thing in the 20th century where you could just promote, hey, we have music from band,
Yeah.
band. And that might appeal to people.
That's very hip.
Starring Cindy Gibb, Virginia Madsen, Clayton Rohner, and Daphne
Oh.
Zuniga.
Cool people have feelings too.
Modern Girls.
Wow.
Yeah,
There's-
I was half.
I was gonna say,
I was
there's-
half paying attention.
There's
Yeah,
nothing
but-
exciting in that trailer that would want to get me to watch.
No, it's-
Why did you pick this movie?
Just because I was curious, I've never heard of it, and it had like a similar theme to some 80s movies that I've seen recently. So I was like, let's see. It was bad. It's not good.
You know what it reminds me
very
of? Of
predictable.
the Jim Carrey movie Once Bitten. That's what that looked like.
Don't even know what that is.
Why don't we watch the
that
trailer to
old?
that? Yeah, so this is from the same time period. Once Bitten. I remember he's into an older woman. She's a vampire. And this is a very common trope in the 80s in comedies. There's a gay black man who's kind of her butler servant, much like the Golden Girls sequel series, Golden Palace, starring Don Cheadle. This is Once Bitten. Hey, the same YouTube channel exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
Beautiful lady vampire Lauren Hutton knows a delicious young virgin when she sees one. And Mark Kendall finds out his sexy
Is it a
one-night
trailer?
stand has been around for
This is like a video store advert.
Oh.
With normal problems.
I want to, but I want it to be special.
Oh, this is what in Living Color, Jim Carrey.
Before In Living Color, in fact.
That is
Oh, wow.
one-night stand
I haven't had anything this pure since the Vienna Boys Choir hit town.
has been around for
Is that Jeffrey
I'm 390 years old.
from Fresh Prince?
Mhm.
Mark Kendall is necking with a vampire.
Or is it
Now,
Samuel L. Jackson from Django?
Hit my lip.
his customers, his image,
Look, I'm not there.
and his mind.
Oh, wow, I love your outfits.
I'm not wearing a costume.
You know what I remember? I remember watching this on like UPN in the middle of the day when I was sick because everybody loved Jim Carrey in the 90s, and they played this because obviously UPN is not getting Ace Ventura or something a year or two after it came out in theaters. And I remember trying to watch the movie
His future goes up.
without my mom like coming in and watching it with me because there's so much
Nothing is safe.
sexual humor in this film. Like he's getting his thigh sucked. There's gay sex in the shower jokes, and I'm just like jumping back and forth between the channels.
It's just you don't want your mom to be here when the jokes get awkward.
Yeah, that's the worst when you're watching a movie and there's a gay scene, and then your mom walks in and thinks you're just watching gay videos. That happened like this
Yeah,
week.
you just have to. Yeah, you have to put a cushion on your lap, and you're just like, what? What? Go away. Can you tell me? Can you tell me a little bit about Last Night with the Devil?
Late night
'Cause I
with the
saw.
devil.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, late night. Because I saw that you posted a scathing review that does not go with the 100% Rotten Tomatoes score. So I wanted to. I still don't know if it's still 100, but I wanted to hear your
97
thoughts of
now.
it. Okay.
So it's not close to that at all. It's just one of these situations where it's this schlocky, Shudder, Psycho Gorman style horror movie that has come out and it stars an actor that everyone likes the idea of him being a lead, David Desmalchian. I believe is how you pronounce his full name.
Something
And
like
he's
that.
he,
Yeah.
he's not like an unlikable actor or anything. He's always good in his supporting roles and
Yeah.
these big blockbuster movies like The Suicide Squad or Dune or The Dark Knight. Any movie I've seen him in, he's been good. But
Mhm.
people are really sucking off the idea of him being a leading man. And in this movie, he does not do anything elevated with his performance. It's kind of borderline what you would expect. There's nothing special about it. The whole film is ill prepared. It's a mess. It starts with voiceover from Stacy Keach, but and also it's a found footage movie that does not bother putting any effort into appearing like it's found footage. It's clearly some sort of VHS filter in, or not, maybe not even VHS, but they crop it in 4:3. They try to add one of these stock filters from probably like Da Vinci or something on top of that for the talk show segments. The people don't talk like it's the 1970s.
Of course.
They cut to
That's
behind
smart.
the scenes footage where it's just standard fucking shooting like you would with a normal camera, but they throw a black and white color grade on it. And it's supposed to be, oh, newly captured. Like it's not even close to that. You would never believe that if you didn't have that Stacy Keach voiceover at the beginning that somebody paid probably $250 for. The very like the third act, I would say, not the very end. There are moments where it's impossible that this is found footage because you're seeing things from one character's perspective. That's a delusion. And then the
Mhm.
entire ending gives up on that. So it's like I thought we did narration and everything, but that's kind of irrelevant and it leans fully into this is a motion picture and you're going to see a bunch of psychological abnormality, whatever. It's a mess. It's a total mess. And by no means would a movie like this that wasn't in the horror genre make it to 90%, 97%, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes critics treat horror the same way that they treat Marvel movies, the same way that they treated that entire genre in the last 10 years. If it's watchable, it's certified fresh. It's a great movie. It's a cult classic. Oh, it's got cult vibes. One of the other kind of niche to most people, but to me, one of the most inauthentic registers of uh, any sort of inauthenticity was an exorcism style sequence where somebody, one of the characters on the stage, reaches for a medallion and it's not a cross. It's not a crucifix. It's like a little fucking, I don't know, voodoo, Haitian, whatever it is. I don't know. In 1970
Okay.
something, you battle the devil with Catholicism, not to
Yeah.
turn into Ryan Katsu Rivera on the show, but that's what you would do.
But
There's no
yeah.
question about that. You're not going, oh, here's my, it turned into Exorcist Believer for a second. That you know that
Well,
sequence?
especially if it's set on the States, right?
Yes,
Like if this was set in Saudi Arabia, fine. But if it's set in the States in the 70s, yeah, Catholicism is like the number one religion that the
absolutely.
country is being ruled with. So they weren't brave enough to see. That's the it's I feared it a little bit because I liked the trailer, but modern horror has, I don't know. I feel like I don't know if it's like a lack of effort or a lack of, I don't want to say a lack of care because I know that these directors care, but why set something up in the 70s if you're not going to take the effort to have your actors speak like they do in the 70s so that the immersion is not lost when they say, I don't know, like for the 200th time and it sounds like a millennial speaking. Why go through the process of making it found footage if you're not going to go all out with the found footage thing and then just lose interest halfway? And I don't know who's owns Shutter. I don't know how to pronounce it. But
Chuds.
is that because you know how most streaming services are losing money?
Mm-hmm.
It would be hard for me to believe that Shutter, when all of their horror productions seem to be kind of like this, where the concept is like, okay, I can see where this could be interesting. Hey, a robot Santa Claus that murders people, that sounds like it could be fun and stupid. And then you watch the movie and you just kind of like, it's just stupid
Mm-hmm.
and boring and effortless and styleless and just it sucks. And it seems like every time I see something that was released on Shudder or produced for them, or released on their service, it's always kind of like, yeah, you have to be a horror online person to just overlook everything with the excuse of, well, it's horror, so
You know what I think it
we.
is? I think people who identify as being members of the horror community just have inadequate taste. And what's happened, not just in the horror genre, more particularly, I'll give you a Survivor comparison here. They only cast super fans on that show now who know the entire lore of the series and they want to be like this character or that character from several years ago.
Yeah.
These modern horror movies do the exact same thing because it's horror super fans who are like, remember that moment in Texas Chainsaw? And I think that this opening here in Late Night with the Devil, the Stacy Keach voiceover at the beginning, I think, is a callback to Texas Chainsaw Massacre because that opens with John Larroquette doing his voiceover, and they explain that. And clearly,
Yeah.
they recreated, I think, with the remake that Marcus Nispel, I think, is the director, wound up doing, and maybe he got John Larroquette again, or he got somebody, and it's kind of a similar thing to that. I think it's all just callbacks and references, and nobody's interested in doing original things. All of the exorcism demonic sequences in the movie, there's nothing original there. You've seen 4 or 5 different versions of this from the past 20 years alone. And I knew going into the movie that this was just going to be a total disappointment for me because it had Shudder written all over it. And when that logo came up, it was just a sense of, oh, fuck. All right. I was on such a roll too. I tried to have such an active week in Massachusetts, and I accomplished that, but it really ended on a low note with this fucking movie. I got to see Mario perform. I got to see the Orwells perform live in concert. I got some cool footage of that. Got to meet all those guys. Very talented, very friendly people. Had a great, great time. Kenny was certainly well behaved. That was a miracle. And I also got to go to the movies and see a 35 millimeter screening of House, which I've realized watching House, the 77 Nabiko Obayashi film, with a crowd of people who had never seen it before, grates on my nerves because they're so eager to laugh at like minuscule things. And
Mhm.
eventually they warm up to other things in the movie that become repetitive. But it was a great time. That was a great time. I watched the new Wim Wenders movie, Perfect Days, which we watched the trailer to Lucky Fritz, and I had a Alex Garland moment where I was just like, I'm no longer in love with filmmaking. I can't. Why am I part of something that creates this? But then I watched Perfect Days. And I was like, oh, this is great. This is perfect. No pun
Oh,
intended with the
right. I was
title.
like, what the fuck was Lucky Fritz? And yeah, yep, you're
Yeah, I'm
right.
glad
Yeah,
you
they
blocked that
carved.
out. I'm sorry to remind you. That was really painful. That really is just embarrassing for anyone who's ever picked up a camera, that movie. But Perfect Days
Yeah.
is a terrific, terrific film. I didn't realize Wim Wenders was still on the ball in terms of his filmmaking since I hadn't been impressed with anything he'd done in maybe about 40 years. So that was a great surprise too. And then Late Night with the Devil. Jesus Christ, way to bring me down at the end of that stay in New England. I walked out of there, I was just like, I hated every part of that. The common complaint I've seen with this movie is that it's good up until the ending. The ending takes it too far. They go too far with it. It gets too wacky, whatever. And my
Do they
feeling,
do do they do the thing that I feel a lot of horror filmmakers have been using as a escape clause to excuse bullshit, which is cosmic horror? Do they use the cosmic horror excuse of like, well, this is weird because it's cosmic horror and it doesn't have to make sense because it's cosmic horror, Lovecraft, have you read his stuff? I haven't, but I've heard that it's cosmic horror, how that's been it used lately as like a shield for mediocrity, and most of the times it's used is not used well. So it's just kind of like, okay, still shit.
no, but they do take a little bit of the aesthetics of cosmic horror. Do you want me to spoil this movie? It's a,
Uh, yeah, fuck it, I don't
I'll
care.
half spoil it for you, okay? I'll just explain what happens. I won't say what happens from that point on. So, for those of you, I never do spoiler warnings, but for those who haven't seen Late Night with the Devil, it's dropping on Shudder on the 19th of April. Bow out right now and just like hit that fast forward button on the Apple Podcast or Spotify app 3 or 4 times, and you should be okay. Shit hits the fan with this possessed girl that he brings on the show. People are dying, and there's a moment where she is fully absorbed by the demon that's in her, and also the demon and Satanist names in this movie are so shit. It fucking sucks. She's part of a satanic cult as a baby. And the satanic cult leader, who's modeled after Anton LaVey, his name is Diabo.
Well, like Diablo, but with
Yeah, like
no.
Diablo. Yeah, but Diabo. Yeah. And
Ooh,
he is vaguely Hispanic.
Satanas. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Oh no, who's in there? You know when they do that shit, where it's just like, oh, Hitler is the demon in here.
Yeah.
Oh no.
No, that would have been cool.
Uh,
I've been on a big Hitler Nazi kick lately. I'm very not like into Nazism, but like I'm very into I better stop
yeah, the
right now.
ideology. Yeah.
The
The beliefs. Yep.
I went to go see Hans Jürgen Seiberberg's Hitler, Our Hitler, a film from Germany at the Lincoln Film Center. It was the first screening there since 1980 when Francis Ford Coppola brought that movie to the United States. And then I got so invested in his filmmaking and his trajectory as a German, where he's like, yes, the Nazis are terrible. They ruined everything. This was such a big mistake, and it was such a big mistake because ultimately the Jews won, and that's so much worse than anything else that could have happened. It's just like, whoa, that's an interesting position to have taken after doing this. Definitely not pro Hitler movie. It just took him 25 years to come around to it.
Mhm.
Okay, all right. I don't know if I'm on board with that, but it's interesting. It's certainly interesting to have that
Yeah.
sort of opinion, I think.
So did that make you go into a binge of History Channel Hitler documentaries
No,
or?
no, that's all boring to me. I like all the weird niche stuff. I've really actually been into German filmmaking lately, which aligns perfectly. It's all just been German and Japanese, the Axis alliance of World War II. But anyway, Axis sounds like Abraxas, and that's the demon that's in the little girl in Late Night with the Devil. They don't call him the devil. They pull a Pazuzu. They go, oh, it's Abraxas, and he's been summoned by Diabo.
Isn't the
Uh,
Braxis a band?
maybe it is. Sounds familiar.
Yeah. That sounds like one of those hair bands. I think my uncle used to listen to this shit with like Journey and all those. Well, Journey was not a heavy metal band for the.
No, certainly not. But
Oh, it's a Santana song. Uh, and it's a Carlos Santana song. That's so
Santana,
scary.
what does that sound like? Satan.
Oh, oh shit. That sounds like Diabo.
Exactly.
Santana. If you switch a couple of letters there, yeah, that sucks. That's so
Well,
see, but that's the thing. Like fucking go on.
let me spoil what happens here. So the
Okay, so
girl's
maybe
head.
hold on. So
Yeah.
maybe press fast forward a couple of more times because I think we
Again,
probably
yeah. Sorry, you just kind of skipped past my Nazi part. So
Yeah.
the what happens is her head splits open with all this weird energy, and a bunch of people on stage die, a bunch of main characters die. And I guess this
Mm.
is what people think took it too far before you get into the lead character's delusions, and it's a replay of everything that happened leading up to the show that night, which is essentially implying that and Jack makes this point plenty of times on his Twitter and on his show, but this sort of mainstreaming of the whole, the Epstein pedophile, whatever thing, and how that's sort of
Okay.
overblown or like it's thrown onto things that don't really fit within that
Yeah,
mold.
what the fuck?
They do a little bit of that. They do a little bit of you got to sell your soul or somebody's soul if you want to make it in this business. And the implication is that he sold his wife's soul to become a popular late night host or something. She gets cancer even though she doesn't smoke. And I just kept thinking the entire time, this cancer effect, this chemo effect looks fucking gay. We made Nick Joroff look so much better in Mass State Lottery coming this year. I promise you, it's a blood oath. So
Yeah, and all you had to do was shave his entire head and have him be
twice.
unhealthy for like 3 years.
Well, he took care of half of that for me
Yeah.
leading up. So
Yeah, and then just shaved his eyebrows and his beard and head and give him a little oxygen mask, and then it's all up to
mhm,
performance.
exactly. You
Um,
can do a lot with little, I like to say.
yeah.
So it gets very, I guess you would call it science fictiony for a moment in terms of the visuals. And when that happens and the characters start dying, I'm like, okay, I like this. This is
This
good.
bit, yeah.
All this shit doesn't register as sincere. It's not 1970s. It's not found footage. The acting's bad, and the acting is only bad because the writing is bad. Everyone would be acting better in that movie if it felt like an early draft of an unprofessional script from somebody within that Portland soy horror community.
Mm.
And I hate that. I despise that so much. So I wasn't happy with Late Night with the Devil. And I have nothing against David Dismalchian, but the talk about his performance in this movie is so overblown. It's really, I understand being sentimental and like having the feel good story or whatever, but it's not called for here. He didn't do a whole lot with that character. He doesn't have the dimension that's maybe required for that. He's just doing his typical David Desmalchian, I'm the 12th billed actor in this movie style of
I'm
acting.
sorry, but oh, so he's been getting why are people like this? He has a career of 84 movies that he's in. Sure, he's never the main role. He's never I mean, I don't want to say never because I haven't seen the 84 movies that he's
Well, now he
in
is.
or
Now
84
now
project.
this is his only one, I
But
believe.
yeah, he's done a lot. Blade Runner, Relaxer, which I know you're a fan. He was in Twin Peaks.
Mhm.
So he's done a lot of cool shit. Let's say, uh, for people to just praise his performance just because it's a feel good story. Are people still falling for Hollywood feel good? Also, this is not Hollywood. This is an independent movie. You star an independent movie. So it's like, is everyone just gonna be like, well, no, this is a perfect, well,
I hope
I'm gonna
so.
criticize
Yeah,
him
they
right
better
now.
do that. I'd love to see that happen. That would be great. I have a feeling it won't, but that's okay.
Yeah,
Maybe if I saw in 83 more movies, that'll happen.
it's so weird to me the way that people review movies now because there's so many things that are involved in the reviewing of the movie where the quality of what you're actually watching is not the most important part, or if it works, or if the dialogue is good, or if the story makes sense, or if the characters make stupid decisions that don't make sense and only work to move the plot along. They just forget about all that because it's like, well, what's the overarching story with this? Oh, it's a movie where very few things happen. That's very experimental and very new, and no one's done it before, even though they have. I just don't know shit. So 100, it's amazing, it's perfect. I just, I hate talking like this about movie reviewing because we like do this show, obviously, but there's so many worthless voices in the internet movie reviewing space, I guess. That especially the loudest voices because they're the ones that are afraid of like talking about anything that might be, not go with the main narrative of the big group or whatever. But yeah, most of the reviews that you see on movies that are popular or that have very high scores usually don't have anything to do with the actual movie, or you have to get to like paragraph 5 to be like, oh, cool, you finally talk about the plot, not
Yeah.
about how brave the director is or how whatever they grew up, whatever, and that's supposed to matter in how I enjoy the film.
hmm Yeah, I think people are just too consumed with all the benefits of playing nice, and they choose that conformity instead of trying to embrace any sort of fierce, independent spirit or voice. And it's easier because you make your bones that way. You have a lot to gain from being nice and not a whole lot to gain from being honest or being critical about something. And, you know, I didn't want to savage this movie. I guess I enjoy. Maybe I was being generous because I paid for the fucking tickets, and honestly, it was a matinee, so I didn't even pay that much. But I gave it 2 stars on my letterbox. If I had watched it directly on streaming, I have a feeling I would have given it a star. But I don't know. Maybe there's something I'll find that I liked about this movie, Late Night with the Devil. But I did walk out of that. I was like, yeah, that was exactly what I expected. The only thing that looked cool was the little girl's head splitting open for a second. That looked cool.
But there's also that thing about how when something starts getting universal praise, and I don't know if it's just something that happened. I mean, I'm sure it's not something that happens to me, but that immediately puts me off
Yeah.
something. And I'm usually right. And it sucks because it shouldn't be like that. But I feel like a lot of the time their
Before or
opinions are
after you
shaped
watch something?
before.
Hmm.
Before I watch something, if it's something that I see mostly positive shit, and it's not that I don't believe it affects my enjoyment of the thing, but and I usually have to either avoid reviews or separate. Like if I see that something got a high score like this on Rotten Tomatoes, I don't read anything about it if I'm still interested in watching it. And if it's something that I'm really not interested, I check a couple of reviews, and if they just don't say anything that I care about, I don't watch it. But I feel like whenever something gets like a 90, there's no way. They're not reviewing movies that should be getting those scores, and those are not the movies that get the attention and get the retweets and get the online presence of look at how this Men in Tights movie got a high score. um so
Robin Hood
whenever,
Men in
yeah,
Tights.
sure, just whatever superhero, that
Sure.
those are the ones that whenever they get a high rating, those are the ones that get all the
Well,
attention.
think about what it
uh
means to have a 90% on some. I mean, Rotten Tomatoes in particular, sure, but just if
yeah
90% of critics, let's not even consider it Rotten Tomatoes, if 90% of critics are saying this is a great movie, this is a good movie, and there's not a real conversation that's happening about it, just an observation about what makes this movie good, it's probably not that interesting.
mm,
And I think that has a lot to do with why we see these movies that are critically acclaimed and they win awards. They fade out pretty fast if they're not actually worth what they've been made out to be worth. I think about something like even some of the better ones, like Moonlight from 2017, or maybe it was 2018. It won the Academy Award. I thought that was a great
yeah
movie. Then it wins Best Picture because The Birth of a Nation movie,
oh yeah
that whole scandal
hmm
nulls that film. Basically, the director became persona non grata after it turned out that there was a woman he was accused of leading into a gang rape and maybe participating in a gang rape. She killed herself. They blamed him for that. Um, when that movie won Best Picture, Moonlight, in place of that, because that was groomed to be that, it made me reconsider: is this movie actually that good? And the conclusion I drew is it's a good movie. It's not that good of a movie, but I think it being so overblown has made it disappear. And that's a better example of one of these Best Picture winners. We often rag on movies like Coda or Nomadland, which
yeah
70% of the people who fucking voted for those movies probably didn't even watch them.
hmm
Those movies are never going to be heard from again. Those directors are probably never going to be heard from again. So, what does it mean to be a good movie when the audience that's observing and deeming that good or bad is what it is? Not a lot. It's not worth a lot. And I don't think that title or that recognition is anything of note. And that's what people are coming around to slowly but surely. And all these horror movies with 100% on Rotten Tomatoes from the past 4 or 5 years, who's really talking about? No one. People are still watching the same fucking horror movies they've always been watching, which
yeah
is Halloween, it's Friday the 13th Part 4, it's the Nightmare on Elm Street series, maybe a Saw or two, and
Chucky,
that's it.
Texas Chainsaw, and
Yeah. And no one's even talking about the new Chucky stuff. So,
yeah, which is still going, I think. Just
yeah.
shows you. Yeah.
Hmm.
Also, that horrible Hellraiser killed that
Oh
franchise once
yes,
again.
I saw the director was like, yeah, the next movie it's gonna be even crazier. I was like, it wasn't fucking crazy to begin with, man. That's a very low bar. You had the
Yeah.
least crazy Hellraiser. And there were
Yep.
some really shitty direct-to-video Hellraiser movies in the 90s that Weinstein put out, and they're in space and they're doing this. It's just you didn't do anything. You made it for tweens.
Yeah, you
So,
made it for Hulu. Yeah.
yep. Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm assuming that's not happening. I think a lot of it also has to do with how people enjoy art, right? Because I personally like things that push the envelope a little bit or are done differently than what I would find on a mainstream production or a
Mhm.
mainstream movie or a movie with a big actor. I usually try to side more with like the weirdo guy stories or like the stories that are a little that look a little different or that are people that speak a little differently than what you usually get on social media or if you spend 20 minutes on TikTok. So for me, whenever all these movies get universal praise, I don't know if it's that internal bias that I have, or that most of those movies kind of fall into that category of low effort, but very familiar. So they become very popular because the things that they're seeing are not really pushing anything. It's just kind of like using nostalgia in a way where it makes you feel cozy and familiar. So it doesn't have to be good because you can just put it on and oh, this movie makes me feel good. But is it actually something that you'll be watching in 5, 6 years because something reminds you of it other than how it's making you feel cozy and safe right now? And that's my big problem with these big movies that they're so dull and so lacking interesting characters that are not just um washed and safe and afraid. I feel like most protagonists now in movies are just afraid, and that sucks,
Mm.
because they have to be perfect, and that's the worst kind of uh, main character to me when the main character is perfect, because it's just like I don't care, I don't want to follow this perfect character. Give me a. I'd rather have an avatar for the audience that doesn't really speak much and doesn't do much and it's more about the world around them than having someone that's just very safe and very clean and very he's not going to cross anything, that if he does anything bad he's not really bad, it's just it's a white light so that he wouldn't hurt someone's feelings or something like that, and that shit's just
Right.
why
There's always a
just watch a fucking
justifiable.
soap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the
yeah,
soaps are probably more interesting with their character
yeah, true.
developments. I'll give you an example. There was some guy who got kicked off a soap that my mom watches because he didn't want to get the vaccine. But then a couple years later, no one cares about that anymore. So they're like, why don't we just bring him back? And so, oh, that we killed him off, but actually he had to fake his own death to become an assassin for the US government. And he killed the son of this other character, but by accident. And he's so gray, he's a conflicted man, and now he's in witness protection or so. I don't know. So that's what you get on the soaps. Everybody's good and evil for a while.
Yeah, yeah, I remember growing up, all those Mexican soaps were always about some poor girl that falls in love with a rich man because
Mm.
one day she was collecting trash outside of his house and he saw her and he saw how dirty she was. But he was like, oh my God, she's so beautiful with all that shit on her face and that hair full of everything. And it looks like it's got stink lines coming out of her head.
Yeah, you wear that can of
And
green beans so well, he said to her.
yeah. And he falls in love with her because she just looked at him. But then there's evil mom who dominates this man in his entire life. And she doesn't want him to be with the person that makes him happy. He wants to be with the bitch who's hot and rich, but she's a bitch that hates everyone. And that's it. Like that's the premise for everything that I remember my grandparents used to watch like 3 hours of that shit in Mexico, and it was just like, oh, a different story. Everyone's just a little older. That's great. Okay, same thing.
Mhm.
Cool. Another hour of this thing of just extreme close-ups before we go to commercials.
Classic Cinderella tales, and they know exactly who their audience is. But you know what Latin Americans love these days is Godzilla Kong the New Empire.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Do they?
biggest movie. Yeah, 30
Uh,
I read this. I had a sense. I have this this visual in my head of a Central American family of obese people showing up at the Times Square AMC theater for Godzilla Kong. And goddamn, if that wasn't right.
Yep.
36% of the audience that showed up for Godzilla Kong, the New Empire, is Latin Americans.
Of course.
How
They want to see
about
King
that?
Kong. Yeah.
Yes, that's terrible. Why such bad
I
taste, Hans?
Because they love blockbusters. They just want loud shit hitting each other on a big screen and
30,
making.
hold on. I don't think 36% showed up for Dune Part 2, though. It was specifically Godzilla Kong.
Well, yeah, because they saw Dune Part 1 and they were like, this shit fucking boring essay.
Yeah.
This fucking sucks essay. You're gonna need to bring the chelas to drink inside of
Mhm.
here because this shit is boring. All these crackers doing nothing. That brown girl with no personality and no, yeah, no. Why
Mm.
would they? You got a Godzilla in it. You saw the last Godzilla movie. I actually didn't. No, wait, I did. The one I didn't see was the King of Monsters one. Which is I don't
The
know why.
American
That's the
one,
one
the
that appeals to me.
legacy.
Yeah, that's the one that appeals to me the most because I love those old monsters. But I just never got around to it. And this new one really put me off after the last one, Godzilla versus Kong. I was just kind of like, I should love this. Like this is the shit that I grew up with. Like this is like I should be excited about this. But the first American Godzilla, no, not the first one, the second one, because I actually did like the first one in the theater. I was a little boy. The second one was a huge disappointment for me from that director. That's I don't know where is he now? What was his name?
Oh,
Gareth
sorry.
Edwards.
You were talking about the 2014 Godzilla?
Yeah.
Yeah, Gareth
So
Edwards
that
didn't he do The Creator?
creator, right? I didn't see that. Did you see
Neither.
that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I know. So starting there, I think that's where this universe, Monsterverse started, right? With Aaron Taylor
The
Johnson
new
soldier
Bond. Yes.
that was more important. He's a new Bond.
Yeah, isn't that boring?
How are you gonna give an actor that has no charisma the role of James Bond?
You know, I just watched this Luther, I think it was direct to Netflix movie because I watched the first season of Luther and I
Yeah,
remember thinking, this is good. And then by the third episode, I was like, it's just became every other BBC show. This fucking,
yeah,
they don't know how to write these things. They start good or they
yeah.
get good talent and they don't give them a good script. But then I decided to check this movie out because it also had Andy Serkis and it actually was pretty all right. It was okay, especially for that type of movie, and it was shot well. It was actually
Mm,
surprisingly shot pretty well. I would so much rather the boring, just give that audience what they want. The Idris Elba as Bond variate
yeah.
like that everyone's been saying for 15 years, and then you have right-wing people that are like, oh no, but he's black. But like, who gives a shit? Who the fuck is
Yeah.
good that's like a white British. I mean, you could say Henry Cavill, right? But that's a little on the nose. And he'll have like
Yeah.
15 years of shit movies where he can hop into that role if he really needs it. Idris Elba is getting a little
Oh
old. Just
yeah.
do one. Just do one or two. He would be great. He would be great in that role. Aaron Taylor Johnson, such a bore. Just watch that Godzilla 2014 movie and you'll understand he has
Oh,
lost all his charisma from Kick Ass and around that time. So yeah, that Godzilla movie blew. The King of the Monsters movie, actually, I thought was probably better.
better. I
Yeah,
didn't see that.
I watched it on HBO in the middle of the day. I think I took a nap for 20 minutes of it and then woke up and I was like, Mothra or somebody or Ghidorah.
He's all
Cool.
right, yeah. And then you
So
have what, Kong Island, your favorite?
that's the worst one by far. Absolutely the worst. I'm glad Jordan Vogt Roberts doesn't seem to have much of a career anymore. He's one of these offenders of being a super fan and not building any real new moments. Just saying, hey, look at Akira jacket. Hey, it's Steve Brule acting like Steve Brule.
Oh yeah.
Give me a fucking break. Kyle Chandler and Millie Bobby Brown were good in the Godzilla sequel. And then honestly, I think the one I enjoyed the most was Godzilla vs. Kong. But
Oh, you did the last one?
yeah, I think so. I mean, I'd have to go and watch it again, but my impression was I thought this movie was going to be terrible and it's bad, but it's
It's
all
fun.
right.
It's
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, it's what you want. I
Especially
don't
during
think I'm gonna be
COVID.
seeing.
When we
Yeah.
were getting a new movie a month on HBO Max, that movie
Mm.
was a fun surprise for I think March it came out.
Is Jordan Bog Roberts still doing Metal Gear Solid, or is
He
that
better
not
not be. Someone better
with
cut his
Oscar
hands
Isaac?
off. Nah,
Oscar Isaac?
I don't think that's
Even if
happening.
what Solid Snake is gonna be 5'4"? That's hilarious.
He
uh,
doesn't carry the sort of ruggedness that Solid Snake needs. I would cast Hugh Jackman as Solid Snake.
mm,
He's
yeah, I mean he's
yeah,
got the look. Yeah,
yeah.
even though he's
I
how
think
old
he
is
would
he now?
fit.
Like 70?
I mean, he's putting on that Wolverine costume again because there's no other directors or studios calling him anymore since he said, "All right, I'm done." Took him what? Not even 10 years, and he's back in the suit. So
He's
give that to him.
55.
That ain't that old.
Yeah, no, that's not old at all. I don't know why I thought he would be much older. What do you mean? He's doing Big Mouth and a voice for Human Resources and a voice for Rick and Morty, and he was a voice in Free Guy, that Ryan Reynolds movie.
He doesn't have a
And
memorable voice. Why would they do that?
I don't know. Damn, what the fuck? I don't know why I thought his career was better than this. I guess the whole Wolverine thing had me a little. Oh, Prisoners is good. But
Yeah,
we're talking about
he's got a few.
2013.
He would get a good role tossed to him every so often. Like he's in Les Miserables. Did he win an Oscar for Les Miserables?
Uh, is that
He
a good
was
role? Is that what you're saying?
he was all right in Les Miserables. I like that Les Miserables movie with Russell Crowe's crazy singing.
Horrible
That
thing.
that was awesome.
No, he was nominated, let me see, for one Oscar, and that was for, yeah, for that, best performance by an actor in a leading role, that Mr. Wow. Okay. I don't know. I saw it with college student eyes when that came out, and I was like, this fucking sucks. I hate musicals, and these people can't sing. Like,
That
this
made
is
it better.
boring. Why
That's
don't
what I thought made it charming. Is they
yeah.
didn't know how to. They were not professionally trained actors, and I didn't know a whole lot about Les Miserables. I knew some of the songs because I remember downloading some of them on Aries back in the day. Because I
Oh
don't, I've
wow.
just, I've, yeah, I don't know.
It's
I've always
because you were a
had,
theater kid. Yeah.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
I've always had like a slight fascination with like 80s Broadway, and that was my how I was acquainted with that. And then I saw the movie and I had no enthusiasm going into the movie. My ex dragged me into it and I came out liking it more than she did. So,
I want to go through his career
Swordfish.
so that you can tell me which 5 movies are his best.
Okay. We're taking a look at Hugh Jackman's IMDb right now. If you are not a
Yeah.
member of patreon.com/lowres and watching the video version of this, we need another $100 tier selection, folks. Patreon.com/lowres. All right, we're taking a look. We have X-Men, Swordfish, Kate and Leopold, which, pause, I watched an old TRL only a week ago, and he was on there and awkwardly hugging some Asian girl and some chubby white girl to promote this movie, Kate and
Yeah.
Leopold. And he gave out
Okay.
like keychains from the movie or something.
Nice. TRL.
Anyway, Van Helsing, X-Men,
Yeah.
The
3.
Last Stand,
Right.
The Fountain. Okay, I think The
Okay, so
Fountain,
this too, right? Prestige
The
2.
Prestige, Happy Feet. So that's the start of his voice acting career. Australia is
Hmm.
one I've been meaning to watch. That's Baz Luhrmann. They just released a new version of it for Hulu with a new title. That's a series. X-Men Origins. I remember the work print
Yeah.
of that getting leaked when I was in some grade. I don't know. I remember watching that and that was horrible. X-Men First Class.
Movie
Real
43.
Steel.
Prisoners, definitely.
Yeah.
That was
The
great.
Wolverine. I remember that is what
No,
people
that's not the
wanted
one.
Logan to be.
Oh, when he goes to Japan.
Mm-hmm. That
Yeah.
movie wasn't good. X-Men Days of Future Past. I think I'm gonna rewatch these X-Men movies soon.
Those 3 or all of them?
Maybe all of them. Chappie.
Well, the Brett
It,
Ratner ones.
yeah,
Oh wait, it's
there's
one
so
Brett
many.
Ratner one.
Yeah. They threw him in Apocalypse too. Damn, they couldn't sit him out of one fucking movie.
Nope.
That's the one
No,
nobody watched either.
he's the face. He had to be.
Yeah,
Who else
that's
is memorable from those movies?
I guess. I have you seen X-Men Apocalypse?
No, I don't
Me
think. I think
either.
that's the one that I never saw.
Yeah, nobody saw it. Logan,
Oh, he was
Greatest Showman.
Blackbeard in Pan. Yep.
Okay. The Front Runner, Missing Link, Bad Education, Free Guy. This is when
I
the
Why does
Dark
this
Ages
sound
start.
very? What does this sound familiar? Is that the? Oh, I've been meaning to watch this. I don't know why. I think it has something to do with the director and the movies he's directed, maybe.
Who
But I remember
directed
that
this?
uh Corey Finley. No, that doesn't sound familiar. Was it Thoroughbreds? I don't know. I just remember seeing this name and I was like, okay, that sounds like kind of like a Big Short type of movie. Uh, become prime suspects in the unfolding of a single largest public school embezzlement scandal. Yeah, and the cast looked fine, but I think it's one of
Ray
those that I downloaded and
Romano.
never
Okay,
saw.
now
Yeah,
I'm in. Count me in
yeah.
for that one.
Uh, but yeah, I don't think did we pick. I think we got three, four. We got four up to here.
I think he got some award buzz for The Greatest Showman. I've never seen that movie, so
Is
I
this
can't really.
the movie when Steve Carell pretends to be a magician? Oh no, it's not. You know
I
that
thought you were going to
movie
say
where
when he
Steve?
pretends to be a gay man who's obsessed with women and makes little dolls about them. Marwin Call.
What is
We
that?
we talked about this, I think, with Jerry briefly, because Jerry also knew the real story. Because there's a documentary called Welcome to Marwin Call. And then they made a film version of it called Welcome to Marwin. Steve Carell played the guy. And in reality, they paint like so this movie painted its subject as a gay man who suffers a hate crime and he's misunderstood and he's a good guy and people come around and empower him. But the actual story is he was a fucking freak who would make dolls of women in the town. And then he tried to pull something at a bar. He was being creepy and got the shit beat out of him. And it was labeled a hate crime because one of the guys called him a faggot or fag. And
Hmm.
then they made a Steve Carell feel good fucking movie about him. But like everyone knew he was a creep. Everyone knew he was a sick guy.
What do
So
you mean? It says that it was a beautiful therapeutic outlet here of making strange women into dolls and then caress them like
isn't
a
that the
grandma's
Hollywood
boy.
move? Yeah. Go to the actual documentary here. Welcome to Marwin Call.
Wait, that's not no.
No, this is the movie
Nope.
that they made that was based on the documentary.
Marwan Call like that.
Yes, that's it.
Oh. Hmm.
And if there's one thing you have to learn and have to know in 2024, it's that documentaries are basically evil. If you watch them like they're a report of truth, purely truth, you're making a big mistake. And I've seen people responding to, I didn't even know this was a thing until about a week and a half ago because I saw it on the Costa Rican theater, as we like to call it. But there was an HBO Max Alex Jones, the People versus Alex Jones documentary. And I saw
Oh,
people like,
yeah, no.
this motherfucker deserves everything he has coming to him. It's so satisfying. He got fined $1 billion. And it's just like, how are you like this shut off to like seeing people in two dimensions? You know, this guy's a
Yeah.
big public figure. Like you can just find anything. Oh, I'm so glad he doesn't have the power he had before. He seems more mainstream and normal now. Like more people seem to like Alex Jones now than they ever have. So I don't know.
How much
Anyway,
power did he have? He was like a niche, like right-wing radio guy, right? That I mean, he
yeah.
had a following just like what Mancow have a following, you know? That doesn't mean
Mhm.
he's powerful. That doesn't mean he's, causing brain rot is what he's caused, kind of like the Trump thing. Because number one, how do you wish that someone gets how much was the thing that he
The
has to pay? Like
fine.
150 something million or something ridiculous like that
Trump's
because
bond was
he
$175 million,
no no
which has
no
been paid.
Alex Jones
A
is thing.
billion. It's billions.
Yeah. Because he someone
Because he
like he
killed
hurt
those
someone's
children one
feelings
after
and
another. Don't you
oh.
know that? He showed up at the school and he choked them out. That's what actually happened.
The worst thing is that I think I find more disgusting that the parents of those children's, yeah, use their kids as shields to make careers out of them now that they're dead. Because now they're authors and now they're like doing fundraisers and anti-gun and all this shit. And it's like you're just standing on your child's corpse to make money. Because like
Yeah,
just
I mean,
yeah,
listen, it's a pretty grimy situation, regardless. And I've gone at those parents before over like this ridiculous lawsuit, but the reality is, it's not. I don't think it's them. I think they're being manipulated by attorneys who have a
mm,
greater purpose that they're trying to fulfill, which is taking down the influence of Alex Jones. And if you're one of those parents, Alex Jones did say, "Oh, maybe the school shooting didn't
it's a
happen." He
hoax.
said whatever he said,
Authors. Yeah.
and if someone who I didn't even know that well died, and somebody online is like, they didn't really die, this is a fucking manipulated da, 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 I'd be like, fuck you. I want to see you taken down next. I want to see the
Yeah.
worst things happen to you. So I understand that perspective because it's their kids, but understand what, like, you're never going to see that money. You're never, what are you going to get, $150 check a month, and you're putting
Yeah.
your blames onto somebody? Like, you want to punish somebody because you can't punish anybody for what happened. It's a complicated situation, but that ain't the way to go about it and be a decent person, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Marwin
Here you go.
Call official
Meanwhile, back
theatrical
in
trailer.
Monaco, the SS took me, he tied me up, then started cutting me.
Started
I put a scar
massaging
down my face
my
because this
shaft,
side was damaged.
rubbing
Blood.
my testicles aggressively, causing slight pain mixed with pleasure.
Get your hand off my penis. Oh. So what? So
When the teenagers kicked my head to pieces, they wiped all memory of everything.
Well, what's the first thing I gotta work on? That's my imagination.
Everything's real. The slide on the 45, the clip even comes out.
Sorry. Everybody has a dream. Everybody wishes they had a double. They could do the things that they could never do.
There's always something
why are they
going on in
naked?
Marlin Call. I've taken
You
place
know
in
why.
many battles. We usually come out on top.
The SS had me tied up. The girls went into the church. They eliminated the
So he
SS.
photographs
Her
this
coming,
and creates his
saving
stories with
me,
photos.
proved to me that she loved me.
So this is my
What
I
wife.
the
don't think
fuck
he
was that?
photographed it. I think he would just
Anna's
play.
television is deja
He would just
vu.
create
Really?
situations.
That's
Yeah.
this creepier somehow. What the fuck is this thing in the background? Look.
Saving me
Hold on.
proved to me that
Which side are we looking
What
at?
is here? What is this? Do you see this thing over here? Look.
It looks like a bowl.
So this is my
A
wife.
Yeah, but it's
plant?
got like
proved to
I don't know
me
if it's a
that she
plant. Kind of
loved
look like something with like
me.
strings. I don't know.
Ah,
My
I
I'm
don't know.
I'm tizing out
Anna's
over here
television
or something. That doesn't matter.
There's a lot going on
Without
here.
you,
This
it's
reminds
wrong.
me of
Yeah.
I Think We're Alone
This is
Now,
Deja
the documentary
Torres.
I
we
was about
watched
to
for
say
our
that,
show
yeah.
with DC.
Yeah.
First saw Mark, he's in his full World War II regalia. Like, oh hey, how's it going? What's that all about? I was
Hey,
just
is that what you say to
astonished by
someone
the
that's just wearing
realism
World War
and
II
feel.
regalia? I think you
thought it
just
was too
crossed the
amazing to
street.
not share with other people.
There's a curator of an art gallery that wants to display my photos.
So he does take photos. Okay.
What if this leads to attention and it's
Yeah.
bad for him? Will he make it to the city?
It's like this is the one last thing that I don't ever want taken from me. I built Marlin Call for me, for my therapy.
It gets stranger by the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty strange from the beginning, I think. But okay, but this doesn't really say anything. Like this kind of feels like an uplifting, we're gonna tell a nice story documentary over here. So I don't know, what LowRes was alluding to. If let me see, he was attacked by 5 men outside of a bar one night, spent 9 days in a coma and another 40 days in the hospital recovering. His injuries left him with brain damage and amnesia about his life before the attack. So unable to afford therapy, he developed his own elaborate form of it, creating an elaborate fantasy world in his own backyard with the help of dolls. He calls the towns he builds Merwin Cool. Cole, sorry. Okay, so now, I mean, I guess we've been doing documentaries about autistic people forever, but at least that trailer didn't give me any type of like weird vibes about this guy or anything. It was just like, oh, this mentally ill guy takes pictures of dolls that are naked by the river, where a man holding a doll of a man holding a rifle is standing above them.
I
That's
think you're
just,
gonna watch the
therapy.
documentary to get a better understanding. And also, there's a lot of stuff that did not come out, even in that documentary. I think about why he was beaten up to begin with because he was being weird. He was being. It wasn't just this. I
He's
don't believe
trying
it
to touch
was.
someone's penis and kiss
No, he's not a
people
gay
and
guy. He's a straight
oh.
guy. They portrayed him in that Steve Carell movie as a gay guy.
Oh, that imagine someone's telling your story and it's like, yeah. And after LowRes Wonder Bread was done sucking 3 dicks, he decided to go get some gelato at 3 in the morning. It's like, wait a second, that's not how this happened.
And then
He
it becomes
poured
a hate crime. Yeah, that's
yeah.
that's 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 what happens here. So
Yeah.
that's a fun treat for anyone who's a doll enthusiast, I guess, is Marwin Call. I wonder why we changed the title. I
Yeah.
guess it's not
How,
as
wait, how did this title come along? What made you think of this? Steve Carell,
oh, I know.
Wolverine.
Wolverine, Steve Carell would be a great Solid Snake.
Yeah.
I think that was probably it.
So
Monsterverse.
Hugh Jackman has 4 good movies. I don't think we got to the 5th one.
No,
I
he
think at
doesn't
least
have
that
enough
we've seen.
range. He's a Broadway theater guy who gets
Yeah.
away with playing an action star. People love Wolverine. Did you see the X-Men 97 series? I know we don't, and I don't endorse adults watching cartoons, but whatever you do behind closed doors is your business, not mine. But did you
Mm.
watch X-Men 97 by any chance?
No, it's on Disney Plus. I don't pay for that stuff.
You don't
So
pay for anything. You could just get it on YTS, I'm sure.
no, they don't do TV shows. They only do movies. I have to look for it. And that's the thing. I'm just lazy. I'm sure I don't know. I was about to say I'm sure I like it, but that's not true because every time I try to revisit things that I liked as a kid, I never like them as an adult. And the little that I've seen of this, I don't know. I just don't like the animation, even though the animation from the 90s was kind of not great. But
It's bad in a different way now. It's bad in a way that
yeah.
registers as cheap.
Mhm.
And a lot of people have compared it to Newgrounds and things from the early aughts because they put a lot of attention or more attention, not necessarily a lot of attention, into the character designs, but not fluid animation. And that was a big tap out point with a lot of the DC animated movies for me, is they got so comfortable with certain designs and then they just would do like very janky anime style levels of animation at times and not high quality anime. So I can't really watch new animation for anything. But this X-Men 97 series, I guess, is apparently nothing like that show. They have some of the voice actors back. The designs, I guess, are close enough, but they take it in like a 30 something direction, 30 something the 1980s adult drama on TV. Like Jean Grey is pregnant. She's got to go to the hospital and she doesn't have health insurance, so they can't deliver the baby. So Rogue has to take over a doctor's, like his powers to perform a delivery and do that. So that's an episode.
There's no mutant doctors. There's not one doctor that's a mutant that would be able
Health
to.
insurance is the problem here, Hans. Not mutant or human. It's she's not covered because that's the
It's health
American
insurance
government.
and health insurance stopped the most powerful mutant in the universe. I think Jean Grey is, right? When she becomes the
I think
Phoenix or
so.
whatever.
The Dark Phoenix, yeah.
Yeah, so she couldn't just do her little do thing and then have him bypass it. She forgot, I guess, that she could do that. That's cool.
She didn't want
Well,
to
that's
abuse her powers or something.
yeah. So that sounds like a very interesting drama, very interesting writing. Can't
Mhm.
wait to see that unfold on shitty Happy Tree Friends like animation. That's great. Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't watch animation anymore. And every time I tried watching Roko's Modern Life the other day, and I was like, this is cool. I can watch 2 episodes, and that's it. Like, there's nothing that kind of grabs me or that I've tried to see. And I mean, I guess I'm talking about a cartoon that was from 20 years ago or whatever, but it was something that I actually liked. So I thought he might grab me again. And it's like, okay, I like the humor they use. Fine, but it's very episodic. So no, wait, episodic is when, yeah, when every episode is like contained, right?
Yeah,
So after watching 2 episodes of Rocco, I was like, I think I've seen Rocco. That's cool. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. You got
there's
your
no
fill.
animation that, yeah, no, there's no animation that I've tried to watch because I have tried. HBO Max is full of animation, and most of it is like older. So I'm like, okay, cool. I added a bunch to my list and was like, okay, let's go through this shit. I just can't get into it. I don't know. It's just not.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
that's
know.
where I'm at too. I think I might have said this on The Bang. Is I put on Dragon Ball Super or something after seeing
Yeah,
something. I was just prompted to be like, all right, I'll throw that on. But even as like a passive, I'm working and just need something on the TV. Like I can't do that. I wind up going back to unsolved mysteries or anything like that. I can't do animation. Just like I can't play
yeah.
video games. It's just past. I'm past that point now. I can't take the same enjoyment that I used to. I think too much about time, time management, and even just that sort of passive time management is just, well, I could throw on something that's going to invigorate me a little more, like music or anything really
Yeah,
I can take away.
I feel like I've gotten to the point with video games too, and it sucks because I have a PlayStation 5 that I bought last year, but I feel like every time I turn it on, I'm just kind of like I just sit there for like 20 minutes before I do anything, and then I play for a little bit, and I'm just like, I don't actually want to do this.
Hmm.
And I haven't spent money on a game in a long time. It's just yeah, and I'm not saying I'm doing anything better with my time because I'm not, but I don't know, there's just those type of things that just don't really catch my attention anymore. So I'm just kind of indifferent. And a lot of my friends have tried to like give me animes to adult animes. You like horror? You would really get into this. And then I start watching it. I'm like, no, I just can't. You know, I'm not rewatching anything. I'm not, discovering new things either. It's just whenever it's animated, I told you I downloaded Paprika. I downloaded Akira just to rewatch it because it's been a couple of years, and I downloaded a couple of other like dark animes from the 80s, and I can't bring myself to even put them on because I just don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like, there's a very cool cyberpunk game that's a text to point and click
Hmm.
game that is from Japan. I wish I fucking remember what the name of the game is, but it's similar to I think one that you played when you had your Let's Play thing. Uh
Well, it sounds like the
Cyber
Akira game that I played, which was 90% text and then maybe 1% actual gaming.
Snatcher, I think the game. Yeah, Snatcher. So that game, it's about a detective and it's in the future, and it's a lot of like this is what it looks like. It's a lot of point and click type of thing. Uh, I like the look of it. I started playing it and then I was just like, I'm bored. I
Very
don't
Blade Runner
I
looking.
I don't care. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very, very like retro futuristic type of thing. But I was just kind of like, it's difficult for anything to get my attention now. And it sucks because then I'm just restless, not actually doing anything with my time. But yeah, it's been difficult for me to get into shit. I watched a Peter Greenaway movie the other day.
Oh, which one?
Um uh fuck, I just had it here and I closed
Was
it.
it
Give
an
me one
older Peter
second.
Greenaway? Because there's a difference once you get out of the early 90s.
It's the one with the three women from like three different generations, and it's got Miranda Richardson in it.
Was it
Hold on.
Drowning by
It's called
Numbers?
Yes, that one.
Okay.
Uh
I don't remember if I've
I
seen Drowning, but I maybe I have. I
you
actually I
did.
might own
You
it. Yeah.
you gave it 4 stars and it says all the best Peter Greenaway elements in it.
Oh
That's
wow.
your
My
review.
memories get damn,
Uh
I'm getting old. If it has all the best Peter Greenaway elements, I can't fucking remember if I've seen it.
Yeah, it's just it's about three women that want to like kill their husband. So they
Yes.
all like
Okay.
yeah. It's pretty good. It is definitely one of his movies. I'm not very familiar with his work. I think only the two that or the one I guess that we saw for an episode, but he's very Wes Anderson when it comes to his movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not by quality, but I mean if you're watching a Peter Greenwood movie, you know immediately that it's because it's kind of like a play. It's kind of like very grandiose and very big. Everything is wide, you know.
Hmm.
And that just by the visual aspect alone got my attention and like kind of brought me in because it's so different than anything that's out now. So he's definitely one that I feel like I need to dig into a little bit more, even though I know he doesn't have many movies. I think only like 10 or 8 or something like that.
He's got a healthy amount. There are some films from the late 70s, early 80s that he might have done for BBC or some
Oh, yeah.
with government funding, and he's still making movies. I think he has a movie that's coming out that he shot a couple of years ago. His later films definitely have a much different vibe than those because he changed DPs. He had a guy he was working with reliably in the 1980s that he worked on The Cook, The Thief, His Wife and Her Lover, and many of those films. That's why they have a particular vibe and look to them. And then you get to Eight and a Half Women, and the aesthetic of that is totally different from what you see in those movies that I just previously referenced. I think that might have
Oh.
started with The Pillow Book with Ewan McGregor. That's one that I haven't seen. I can't say if that's a definitive start point or what. But by the time you get to Eight and a Half Women and everything after that, there's a much more like sterile, kinetic vibe to the movies.
Cheaper production, I'm assuming, because
Yeah. Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
He
just the
loves
production
to
of yeah,
he loves to use stages
yeah,
and sets, and that's not something you see too often these days. I wish that would make a comeback.
yeah, because it gives it a completely different feel to the movie. It's a little more like engaging, I guess, because it's so different that what you usually get. So you're kind of invested, especially the way that he presents the scenes and how he goes from scene to scene, and how everything just seems to be a set that has been rehearsed hundreds of times so that it's perfect.
Hmm.
And you don't really see, like you said, you don't. What is the latest movie like that you've seen? Climax maybe or um. No, that's the only one that
I
comes to
wouldn't
mind.
even
What was
say
that shit?
Climax because Climax, I believe Climax was just like an actual on location style shooting. You don't see people using sets or stages anymore. That was a big thing with, and I mentioned him earlier with the Our Hitler movie, Hans-Jürgen Seiberberg. All of his movies seem to be on stages and sets, and they're not concerned with presenting reality. I think so many people are afraid to embrace artifice and engage the viewer in that style of filmmaking now because it comes across as cheap or low, and it wouldn't be low effort at all. As a matter of fact, it would probably take as
Yeah.
much effort as anything you would
Yeah.
shoot these days. But you don't see it often. Honestly, the last thing I can recall, and this I wouldn't even put into that category, that I've seen someone deliberately use that style of filmmaking was the $1 million extreme short-lived series Theater of the Air because they went and did public access shit. And that has the vibe of that. That was the last thing I've seen to use that style. And is that worth watching? I don't know. That's up to you to decide. So maybe some of it. Some of it is actually quite funny. Other bits, well, I best not say. But
Mm,
that's the last of that. And I want it to come back because House is that. The haunted house in House is a stage. Let's bring back
yeah.
stages. Let's bring back sets like that. That's what I say.
Yeah. Effort in filmmaking and
Yeah.
trying and directors with a vision that they fulfill, not just something that starts as something and then ends as something completely different because they were too lazy or too cowardly to continue.
Like Late Night with the Devil. That brings it right back to the theme of this
Yep.
show was Late Night
Hell
with the
yeah.
Devil. That is going to bump the views up. All right. I think we can cap the show on that note. Let's have ourselves a quick think before we do wrap up. Is there anything you wanted to add or say before the program concludes tonight?
No, this was. I think we were able to pull it off, even though we didn't really have a movie. So that's
We definitely
good.
did not. No, it might have felt a little bang, but that's all right.
Yeah.
All right. I guess. All right. So that's it then. That has been movies for this week. I was getting comfortable. I was reclining in my chair, like, all right, Hans is going to talk for another 3 minutes. No,
No.
that was the end
I'm
of the
not,
show.
I'm sober. I'm sober today.
All right. Well, that has been movies for this week. Thank you for listening.